The charity gala was held in the grand ballroom of one of Los Angeles's most opulent hotels. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting sparkling reflections on the polished marble floor. Guests clad in designer outfits mingled, glasses of champagne in hand, their laughter and chatter echoing against the walls adorned with vibrant art pieces. Michael, a 35-year-old entrepreneur, stood at the edge of this glitzy spectacle, feeling more like an outsider than a part of the elite crowd that surrounded him. He was successful by all measures, having built a tech empire from the ground up. Yet, in that moment, he felt a profound sense of disconnection. The laughter felt hollow, the conversation superficial. It was as if everyone was playing a role in a grand performance, and he had forgotten his lines. He glanced around, noticing the way people exaggerated their stories, how they laughed just a little too loudly, and how their smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. "Michael, there you are," a voice called out, snapping him from his reverie. It was Jonathan, his business partner, a man with a perpetual grin and a knack for navigating social events. "I was looking for you. We need to make our rounds before the auction begins." "Yeah, sure," Michael replied, forcing a smile. He followed Jonathan through the throngs of elegantly dressed individuals, nodding politely as they passed familiar faces. But inside, he longed for a breath of fresh air, a moment of solitude away from the polished facades that surrounded him. "Excuse me for a moment," he said, abruptly stepping away from Jonathan before he could respond. He slipped through the crowd, making his way toward the balcony that overlooked the city. The night air was cool against his skin, and he took a deep breath, savoring the moment of quiet. As he leaned against the railing, the city lights twinkled like stars scattered across a vast expanse. He felt a sense of calm wash over him, a stark contrast to the chaos inside. This was what he needed, an escape from the expectations and the constant pressure to maintain his image. Just as he was about to turn back inside, he noticed a figure sitting on the steps of the balcony. A woman, disheveled and wrapped in a worn-out coat, seemed out of place in the luxurious setting. She was staring into the distance, her expression pensive. Intrigued, Michael approached her cautiously. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, gesturing to the empty step beside her. She looked up, her eyes narrowing slightly as she assessed him. "Sure, if you don't mind the smell," she replied, her voice tinged with a hint of sarcasm. Michael chuckled, surprised by her candor. "I think I can handle it. I'm Michael," he introduced himself, extending a hand. "Sarah," she replied, shaking his hand firmly, her grip surprisingly strong. "What brings you out here? Looking for a breather from the high society nonsense?" "Exactly that. It's a bit overwhelming in there." He gestured back toward the ballroom, where laughter and music spilled out into the night. "What about you? What's your story?" She hesitated for a moment, as if deciding how much to share. "Just taking a break from, well, life, I guess," she said finally, her gaze drifting back to the city lights. Michael noticed the weariness etched on her face, the lines of hardship that told a story far more complex than any he had encountered in his world of business meetings and gala events. "Life can be tough," he said, trying to keep the conversation flowing. "What do you do?" "I used to have a life," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Had a job, an apartment, everything. Then things fell apart. I lost my job, then my home, and here I am." "I'm sorry to hear that," he said, genuinely feeling the weight of her words. "If you don't mind me asking what happened?" She looked at him, her expression shifting from guarded to open. "I got mixed up with the wrong crowd addiction, really. It took everything from me. But I'm working on it. One day at a time, you know." "It sounds like you're resilient," Michael said, nodding thoughtfully. "That's important. Resilience is just a fancy word for hanging on by a thread," she said with a wry smile. "But thanks, I guess. It's nice to talk to someone who doesn't look at me like I'm a lost cause." "You're not a lost cause," he asserted, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. "Everyone has their battles, and it sounds like you're fighting yours." For the first time, Sarah's demeanor softened. "Most people don't see it that way. They see the dirt and the rags and think I'm just another statistic." "I can admit I was surprised to find someone like you out here," Michael confessed, feeling a strange connection forming between them. "But I think people underestimate the stories behind those statistics." "Maybe they do," she said, her voice reflective. But it's hard to change people's minds when you're living on the streets. They fell into a comfortable silence, each lost in their thoughts. Michael found himself captivated by Sarah's resilience, her ability to confront her struggles so openly. It was a stark contrast to the superficiality he had experienced that night. "So, what do you think of all this?" Sarah asked, gesturing vaguely toward the gala behind them. "It's overwhelming," he admitted. "I feel like I'm surrounded by people who don't really care about each other. It's all about appearances." "Welcome to the club," she said, a hint of humor in her tone. "But it's not all bad. It's just different worlds colliding, I guess." "Different worlds," he echoed, mulling over her words. "I've always been in my world, the one with suits and boardrooms. I'm starting to wonder if I've lost sight of what really matters." "Like what?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Connection," he replied, surprising himself again. "Real, genuine connection. Not just networking or building a brand. I want to know people's stories." "Then you're in the right place," Sarah said softly, her gaze penetrating. "Sometimes the most valuable stories come from the places we least expect." As they shared this moment on the balcony, a bond began to form, one that defied the boundaries of their disparate worlds. Michael felt a pull toward Sarah, an urge to know more about her life and her struggles. He was aware of the societal expectations that would frown upon such a connection, but in that moment, none of it mattered. "Can I ask you something?" he ventured, his voice low. "Ask away," she replied, her expression open. "Would you let me help you? I mean, if you're open to it. I can bring food, clothes, whatever you need." Sarah studied him for a moment, her expression unreadable. "Why would you want to do that? You've got a whole life waiting for you in there." She gestured back toward the gala. "Maybe I'm looking for something different," he admitted. "Something real. I don't know. I just feel like there's more to life than what I've been told to pursue." She regarded him with a mix of surprise and curiosity. "You're serious, aren't you?" "Yeah," he said, nodding. "I am." A flicker of hope ignited in Sarah's eyes, and she smiled for the first time, a genuine, warm smile that lit up her face. "Okay, I'll take you up on that. But don't think it's going to be easy." "I wouldn't want it any other way," Michael replied, feeling a sense of anticipation bubble within him. This was the beginning of something profound, something that might just challenge everything he thought he knew about life and connection. With that, they exchanged numbers, sealing the unexpected pact that would intertwine their lives in ways neither of them could foresee. As Michael headed back inside, he felt lighter, as if he had shed a layer of the weight he had been carrying for far too long. In the depths of his structured world, he had found a spark of something real, an encounter that would lead him down an unforeseen path, one filled with challenges, discoveries, and the promise of genuine connection. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow over Michael's luxurious estate, Sarah felt a pang of unease wash over her. The sprawling mansion stood as a stark contrast to the streets of Los Angeles she had grown accustomed to. The polished marble floors, the grand chandelier that sparkled like stars, and the plush furniture seemed almost foreign to her. She clutched the hem of her dress, an elegant gown Michael had insisted she wear, her heart racing with uncertainty. "Are you okay?" Michael's voice broke through her thoughts, warm and reassuring. He stood close, his tall figure casting a protective shadow over her. His dark hair was tousled, and his deep-set eyes gleamed with kindness. "Just taking it all in," Sarah replied, a nervous smile attempting to mask her discomfort. She glanced around, wary of the judgmental eyes she imagined watching her from every corner. "This place is incredible. It's just a house," he said, stepping closer, his voice softening. "What matters is who you're with." He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. The warmth of his touch grounded her, reminding her that she was not alone. As they moved into the living room, the lavish furnishings faded into the background. Michael led her to a cozy couch adorned with plush cushions. "I thought we could watch a movie or maybe just talk," he suggested, his tone light and inviting. "Talking sounds nice," Sarah replied, still feeling like a fish out of water, yet grateful to be there with him. As they settled in, the nervousness that had gripped her began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of safety that she hadn't felt in a long time. "Tell me about your favorite memory," Michael prompted, leaning back and watching her with genuine interest. Sarah took a deep breath, memories flooding her mind. "I remember this summer when I was a kid," she began, her voice growing steadier. "My dad took me to the beach. We built the biggest sandcastle you could imagine, complete with a moat and seashell decorations. I felt like a princess that day." Michael smiled, his eyes sparkling with intrigue. "What happened to that little girl?" he asked gently. "She got lost," Sarah replied, her gaze drifting to the window, where the last rays of sunlight were fading. "Life happened, you know. One day you're building sandcastles, and the next you're just trying to survive." Silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken words. Michael squeezed her hand, an unspoken promise that he was there for her. "You don't have to worry about that anymore," he said softly. "I'm here, and I want to help you find your way back." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. For the first time in a long while, Sarah dared to imagine a future that didn't involve survival but hope. "Thank you," she whispered, her heart swelling with gratitude. As the night deepened, they shared more stories, each revealing a piece of their lives, their dreams, and their fears. Laughter echoed through the room as they found common ground in their childhood experiences, the walls of their lives slowly beginning to crumble under the weight of shared vulnerability. In the early hours of the morning, after a long conversation filled with laughter and tears, Sarah felt a sense of belonging that had eluded her for years. Michael, with his unwavering support and genuine interest, had created a space where she could be herself without judgment. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the grand windows, illuminating the room in a soft glow. Sarah stirred awake, the warmth of the blankets wrapping around her like a cocoon. As she opened her eyes, the reality of where she was hit her anew. Panic bubbled within her, but before she could spiral into fear, Michael appeared in the doorway, a bright smile on his face. "Good morning, sleepyhead," he chimed, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I thought you might like some caffeine." "Thanks," Sarah said, sitting up and accepting the steaming cup. The aroma enveloped her senses, and she took a sip, savoring the rich flavor. "Do you have any plans today?" Michael asked, leaning against the doorframe, his casual posture radiating comfort. "Not really," she replied, her mind racing with possibilities. "I mean, I don't know what to do in a place like this." "How about a walk around the property?" he suggested, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "There's a beautiful garden out back. I think you'll love it." With a hesitant nod, Sarah agreed, feeling a mix of apprehension and excitement. As they stepped outside, the morning air was crisp and refreshing, a stark contrast to the stifling heat of the city. The garden was a sprawling expanse of vibrant flowers, manicured hedges, and a small pond that glimmered under the sun. "Wow," Sarah breathed, her eyes wide with wonder. "This is amazing." Michael chuckled, watching her reaction. "I'm glad you like it. Nature has a way of healing, don't you think?" "Yeah," she replied, her heart swelling with appreciation for this moment, the beauty surrounding her, the warmth of Michael's presence. "I never thought I'd find myself in a place like this." As they wandered through the garden, Michael shared stories of his childhood, his laughter ringing out like music. Sarah felt herself relax even more, the weight of her past slowly lifting with each word he spoke. But then, as they paused by the pond, a sudden wave of anxiety crashed over her. She turned to Michael, her voice trembling slightly. "What if this doesn't last? What if I mess everything up?" Michael's expression softened, and he stepped closer, his gaze intense. "Sarah, you're not going to mess anything up. We're in this together. You're not alone anymore. I care about you, and that's not going to change." His words were a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge of despair. I've never had anyone who cared before." "Then let me show you what it feels like," he said, reaching for her hand. They stood there for a moment, the world around them fading away as they connected in a way that went beyond words. But as the days turned into weeks, Sarah's reality began to catch up with her. One evening, as they sat on the couch sharing a quiet moment, she felt a sudden wave of nausea. She excused herself, rushing to the bathroom, her heart pounding in her chest. As she leaned over the sink, the truth hit her like a freight train. Panic surged through her. "No, no, no," she whispered to herself, clutching the edge of the sink. When she finally emerged from the bathroom, her face pale and drawn. Michael's concerned expression met her. "Sarah, are you all right? You look—" "I think I'm pregnant," she blurted out, her voice trembling. The air in the room thickened, silence hanging heavily between them. Michael's eyes widened, a mixture of shock and disbelief etched across his face. "What? Are you sure?" I'm not positive," she stammered, her heart racing as the weight of her words settled in. "But I haven't had my period, and I just know." He took a step back, running a hand through his hair, a myriad of emotions flitting across his face. "Wow, this is a lot to take in." "I know," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't plan for this. I don't know what to do." Michael paced the room, his mind racing. "I mean, this changes everything. It's a huge responsibility. Are you ready for this?" "I don't know," she cried, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I've struggled so much, and now this? What if I'm not a good mother? What if I end up failing?" "Hey," Michael said, rushing to her side, his expression softening as he wiped her tears with his thumb. "We'll figure this out together. You're not alone in this. I promise." His words provided a glimmer of hope amidst the storm of emotions swirling inside her. But as the reality of their situation settled in, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of impending judgment from the world outside their bubble, a world that had already made its opinions clear about their relationship. As the days passed, the weight of the news began to affect their dynamic. Michael's phone buzzed with messages from friends, family, and colleagues who had heard whispers about his relationship with Sarah. Their opinions dripped with disdain, and Michael found himself standing at the crossroads of love and societal expectations. "It doesn't matter what they think," he reassured Sarah one evening, his voice low and firm as they sat together on the couch. "I care about you and this baby. That's all that matters." "But they'll think I'm just using you," Sarah replied, her voice quivering with fear. "They'll call me a gold digger." Michael's jaw tightened, frustration bubbling to the surface. "Let them think what they want. I know the truth. You're not just some charity case. You're a person who deserves love and respect." "But it's not that simple," Sarah said, her eyes wide with worry. "You've worked so hard for everything you have. I don't want to be the reason you lose it all." Michael took a deep breath, his expression softening as he looked into her eyes. "You're not the reason, Sarah. We're in this together, and I won't let anyone dictate our relationship. You're my partner, this baby's parent. That's—" Michael sat on the edge of his elegantly upholstered sofa, the soft fabric contrasting sharply with the weight of his thoughts. The soft glow of the evening sun filtered through the expansive windows, casting long shadows across the lavish room. He had always prided himself on his meticulous life, where every decision was calculated, every moment structured. Yet, now, with Sarah's pregnancy looming over them like a storm cloud, he felt an unsettling mixture of excitement and fear swirling within him. "Michael," Sarah's voice broke through his reverie, warm yet laced with uncertainty. She stood in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the golden light, a stark reminder of her past struggles. Her clothes, borrowed from his wardrobe, hung loosely on her figure, a testament to the changes that had begun to unfold in her life. "Are you okay?" He looked up, meeting her gaze. There was a vulnerability in her eyes that he had come to recognize all too well. "Yeah, just thinking," he replied, forcing a smile. "About us, about everything." Sarah stepped into the room, her bare feet silent on the polished hardwood floor. "It's a lot, isn't it?" she said, crossing her arms protectively. "I mean, this whole thing, us being together, the baby, sometimes, I can't believe it's real." Michael nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "It is real, Sarah, and I want to be here for you, for our baby." But he hesitated, the thought of her past creeping back into his mind. "I think we should talk to someone, a therapist. It might help you process everything." She frowned slightly, the thought of opening up about her past sending a shiver down her spine. "You really think it would help? I mean, I've been through so much. What if they judge me?" "Hey," he said firmly, standing up and walking towards her, closing the distance between them. "No one is going to judge you. I'll be right there with you. We can do this together. You deserve to heal, to have a chance at a better life." Sarah searched his eyes for any hint of doubt, but all she found was sincerity. "Okay," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'll try." The following days were filled with a mix of anticipation and anxiety as Michael arranged for their first therapy session. He wanted to support Sarah, yet he also felt the weight of his own concerns pressing down on him. He had always been the one in control, the one with the answers, and now he was stepping into uncharted territory. On the day of their appointment, they arrived at the small, cozy office tucked away in a quiet corner of Los Angeles. The therapist, Dr. Evans, greeted them with a warm smile, her demeanor instantly putting Sarah at ease. "Welcome. I'm so glad you both could make it. This is a safe space for you to express whatever you feel comfortable sharing." As they settled into their seats, Michael could see Sarah's initial apprehension slowly fade. Dr. Evans guided the conversation gently, encouraging Sarah to share her story. For the first time, Sarah spoke openly about her struggles with addiction, the loss of her family, and the series of events that had led her to the streets. Michael listened intently, his heart aching for the woman he had come to love. "I thought I was strong," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "But I got lost. I didn't know how to ask for help. I was so ashamed of what I had become." "Shame can be a powerful force," Dr. Evans replied empathetically. "But acknowledging your past is the first step toward healing. You've taken a brave step today by sharing your story." Michael reached for Sarah's hand, intertwining their fingers. "You're stronger than you realize," he said softly, his voice steady. "And you're not alone anymore. I'm here for you." As the session continued, Michael began to see changes in Sarah. She was starting to confront her demons, and with each revelation, he felt her spirit grow stronger. It was a beautiful transformation, one that filled him with hope for their future. Weeks turned into months, and Sarah's resilience surprised them both. She began attending therapy regularly, and with each session, the burden of her past seemed to lift. Michael found himself inspired by her journey. As she flourished, he too began to reassess his life, focusing on what truly mattered. He started volunteering at local shelters and advocating for the homeless, immersing himself in the very community he had previously overlooked. One evening, after a long day of volunteering, Michael returned home to find Sarah sitting on the couch, a notebook spread out before her. She was jotting down ideas, her brow furrowed in concentration. "What's all this?" he asked, curiosity piquing his interest. Sarah looked up, her eyes brightening. "I've been thinking, maybe we could start a program to help homeless families. Provide resources, support, a safe space for them." Michael felt a surge of pride. "That's an incredible idea. You've got so much vision, Sarah." "I love it," he said, moving closer to get a better look at her notes. "I just want to give back, to help others like me," she replied, her voice filled with passion. "If I can help even one person find their way back, it would mean everything." Her determination ignited something within him. "Let's do it," he said decisively. "Let's make it happen. We can combine our efforts and use your experiences to inspire others." As they began to brainstorm, Michael felt a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced in years. Together, they mapped out their vision, creating a plan that would not only impact their lives but also the lives of countless others. The idea of a nonprofit began to take shape, and in that moment, their love blossomed even further. However, just as they began to see the fruits of their labor, shadows from Sarah's past loomed closer. One afternoon, while Sarah was sorting through some old belongings, she received an unexpected message on her phone. A chill ran down her spine as she read the name of the sender. Kyle, her former partner. "Michael," she called out, her voice laced with a mix of panic and dread. "You need to see this." He rushed into the room, his heart racing at the sight of her pale face. "What's wrong?" "It's Kyle. He's back," she said, her voice shaking. She handed him her phone, and as he read the message, anger flared within him. Kyle was demanding money, threatening to expose Sarah's past if she didn't comply. "This piece of garbage," Michael growled, clenching his fists. "He has no right to do this to you. We can go to the police, file a report." "No," Sarah interrupted, her eyes wide with fear. I can't go through that again. If this gets out." "Sarah, you're not alone in this. We'll face it together, he reassured her, though doubt crept into his heart. The pressure of her past was threatening to unravel everything they had built. I don't want to lose you, she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. You won't lose me, he promised, his voice firm. We'll confront this. I won't let him hurt you. You've come so far, and I believe in you. As he held her close, Michael felt a storm brewing. They had fought so hard to build a life together, but now, it seemed that everything was at risk. He would protect Sarah at all costs, but he knew the battle ahead would test their love and resilience in ways they had yet to imagine. Michael sat in the brightly lit counseling room, his fingers drumming nervously against the polished wooden table. The air was thick with unspoken worries, and he could feel the weight of Sarah's past pressing down on both of them. She sat across from him, her eyes downcast, tracing invisible patterns on the surface of the table. Today marked their first joint counseling session, a step they had both agreed upon after the turmoil of the past weeks. He wanted to support her, to show her that he was in this for the long haul, but he couldn't shake the feeling of helplessness that enveloped him. Sarah, he began softly, trying to bridge the silence. I know this is hard, but we're doing this together, okay? You don't have to carry this alone. She looked up, her blue eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I don't want to drag you into my mess, Michael. You deserve someone normal, someone who doesn't have all this baggage. Normal, he scoffed gently, shaking his head. What is normal anyway? Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows. We all have our pasts, our struggles. Yours just happens to be more visible than most. Sarah managed a weak smile, but the sadness lingered in her expression. I've hurt people, Michael. I've hurt myself. I don't want you to regret choosing me. The counselor, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, intervened, sensing the emotional turmoil. Sarah, it's important to remember that acknowledging your past is the first step toward healing. It doesn't define who you are today or who you will be tomorrow. Michael nodded in agreement, his gaze steady on Sarah. You're not that person anymore. You're a mother now, and you've fought so hard to be better. I see that every day. As the session progressed, they discussed Sarah's childhood, her struggles with addiction, and the circumstances that led her to the streets. Each revelation was like peeling back layers of a deeply buried treasure, revealing the woman Michael had grown to love, flaws and all. He listened intently, offering support without judgment, and as the session came to a close, there was a palpable shift in the room. Thank you for being here, Sarah whispered, her voice thick with emotion. I don't know what I'd do without you. Michael reached across the table, taking her hand in his. You'll never have to find out. We're a team, remember? After the session, they walked together through the bustling streets of downtown Los Angeles. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the city, but Michael could feel the tension still clinging to Sarah. Do you want to grab something to eat? He asked, trying to lighten the mood. Just us, she replied, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. Just us, he confirmed, smiling. They settled into a small diner, the kind filled with the comforting aroma of burgers and fries. As they shared a plate of fries, Michael couldn't help but admire how far Sarah had come. She was no longer the fragile woman he had first met. There was a newfound strength in her, a resilience that inspired him daily. Do you ever think about your future? He asked, watching her closely. Sarah paused, her expression thoughtful. Sometimes, I think about Ethan growing up, how we'll tell him our story. But then I get scared. What if I'm not the mother he deserves? Michael leaned closer, his voice low. You're already an incredible mother. You're doing things differently. You're breaking the cycle. That matters more than anything. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifted. They laughed, shared dreams, and even made silly predictions about Ethan's future. By the time they left the diner, the night air felt lighter, filled with hope. As they strolled hand in hand, Michael felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Despite the obstacles, they were forging a life together, one filled with love and understanding. But that gratitude was soon overshadowed by the harsh reality of Michael's family. Later that week, as they settled into their new routine, the tension from Michael's family began to seep into their lives. He had tried to keep them at bay, but it was only a matter of time before they pushed back harder. During a dinner with his parents, the topic of Sarah came up, and it quickly spiraled into a confrontation. "Michael, you're making a huge mistake," his mother said, her voice laced with disapproval. "This woman is not fit to be the mother of your child. You are better than this." "Mom, you don't understand," Michael countered, frustration boiling beneath the surface. "Sarah is doing everything she can to provide a good life for Ethan. She deserves our support, not judgment." His father chimed in, a stern look crossing his face. "She's a homeless woman, Michael. Do you really think this is the kind of influence you want around your son?" "Stop!" Michael shouted, the words bursting from him like a dam breaking. "You don't know her. You don't know the battles she's fought. She's not defined by her past. She's fighting to make a better future for our son." The room fell silent, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. His parents exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of disbelief and disappointment. Michael's heart raced, the weight of their judgment pressing down on him. "Do you really want to throw your life away for her?" his mother asked softly, her voice laced with concern. "Mom, I love her, and I love Ethan. That's all that matters to me," he replied, his voice firm yet tinged with desperation. As he stormed out of the house, he felt the world closing in around him. He knew he had to protect Sarah and Ethan, but the rift between him and his family was growing wider. The thought of losing them both terrified him, yet he couldn't imagine walking away from the life he was building with Sarah. That night, Michael returned home to find Sarah sitting on the couch, cradling Ethan in her arms. She looked up as he entered, a smile breaking across her face. But he couldn't bring himself to smile back. "Hey, how was dinner?" she asked, her voice bright but laced with concern. "It was intense," he said, running a hand through his hair. "They're not taking this well, Sarah. They don't see you the way I do." Sarah's smile faltered. "What do they think? That I'm just some charity case?" "They think you're a risk, that I'm throwing my life away," he admitted, his voice heavy. "They don't understand what we have." For a moment, silence hung between them, a chasm of uncertainty. Sarah looked down at Ethan, her heart aching. "I don't want to be a burden to you, Michael. If it's too much, I can—" "No," he interrupted, his voice stronger than he felt. "You are not a burden. You are my partner, and you're the mother of my child. I won't let anyone dictate our happiness." As he stepped closer, Sarah's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "But what about your family? They can't just erase who I am." Michael knelt beside her, taking her hand in his. "Then we'll show them who you are. We'll prove them wrong." But as he spoke those words, doubt crept into his mind. Could they really overcome the prejudices of a lifetime? As the evening wore on, Sarah's laughter filled the apartment, but Michael could feel the shadows lurking in the corners, waiting for the right moment to strike. That night, as they drifted off to sleep, Sarah turned towards him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you ever think about what happens if they never accept us?" Michael held her closer, wishing he could shield her from the worries of the world. "We'll face it together. No matter what, we're stronger together. You, me, and Ethan. That's all that matters." And so they fell asleep, entwined in each other's arms. But even in dreams, the uncertainty loomed, a reminder of the battles yet to come. Michael walked through the park, the sun casting a warm glow over the vibrant flowers and the laughter of children playing nearby. It was a beautiful afternoon, but his heart felt heavy. He had been searching for Sarah for over an hour, his mind racing with worry. Their earlier argument had left a chasm between them, and he was determined to bridge it. As he rounded a corner, he spotted her sitting on a bench, her gaze lost in the distance. The sight of her brought a rush of relief mixed with a pang of guilt. He approached cautiously, not wanting to startle her. "Hey," he said softly, taking a seat beside her. Sarah turned her head slowly, her expression a mix of surprise and relief. "Michael," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant sounds of the park. "I didn't think you'd come." "Of course I would. I've been looking for you," he replied, his tone earnest. "I'm sorry about earlier. I never meant to upset you." She sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. "You didn't upset me. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm not the person you need. You deserve someone better, someone who doesn't have all this baggage." Michael felt a surge of frustration. Sarah, stop it. You're my family. You and Ethan are my world. I don't care about what anyone else thinks. I care about you both. He reached for her hand, intertwining his fingers with hers, trying to convey the sincerity of his words. But what about your family? They think I'm a mistake, she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You could have anyone, Michael. Why choose someone like me? Because I want to, he insisted, his grip tightening on her hand as if to anchor her to him. I see you, Sarah. I see the strength in you, the love you have for our son. Those things matter more to me than any societal expectation. Sarah looked away, her heart racing. It's just that sometimes I don't feel like I'm enough for either of you. I'm scared that one day, you'll wake up and realize you can do better. Listen to me, he said firmly, turning her chin gently to face him. You are enough. You've overcome so much, and you're doing an incredible job as a mother. We're a team, and we'll face whatever comes our way together. She searched his eyes for any hint of insincerity, but found none. The warmth in his gaze melted some of her fears. I want to believe that, she admitted, her voice breaking. You have to, he replied, his thumb brushing against her cheek. We're building a life together. I want us to move forward as a family, regardless of what anyone else thinks. We can't let their judgments dictate our happiness. For a moment, silence enveloped them, the sounds of the park fading into the background. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within her. How do we do that? How do we ignore them? Michael smiled softly, his confidence radiating. We create our own path. We take small steps every day. I want to involve you more in my life, my work, my family. I want you to meet my friends who actually support us. And I'll stand up to my family for you, for us. But they'll never accept me, she said, a hint of despair creeping in her voice. What if they refuse to acknowledge our family? Then we'll show them, he said, determination lacing his words. We'll show them how happy we are, how much love we have to give. We'll prove that family isn't just about blood. It's about who you choose to stand by. Sarah nodded slowly, a mixture of apprehension and hope swirling within her. It won't be easy. I know, he replied, squeezing her hand. But I'm not going anywhere. We'll face it together. You and me against the world, remember? She couldn't help but smile at that. You really mean that? Absolutely, he affirmed, his voice steady. We're a family now, and I'll fight for that. You deserve to feel safe and loved, and I want to be the one who gives you that. As they sat together, Sarah allowed herself to envision a future where their love triumphed over prejudice. Okay, she said softly. I want to try. I want to believe we can do this. Good, Michael replied, a sense of relief washing over him. Let's make a plan then. We'll tackle everything step by step. Just then, Sarah's expression shifted, the shadows of her insecurities creeping back. What if I mess it up? What if I fail at being a mother or a partner? Sarah, he said gently, his tone soothing. You're already doing an amazing job. You're present for Ethan, and you love him fiercely. That's what matters most. It's okay to make mistakes. We all do. What's important is that we learn from them together. She smiled, the warmth of his words wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. You really believe in me, don't you? More than anything, he responded, his eyes shining with sincerity. You're my partner. I believe in us. For the first time in a long while, Sarah felt a sense of clarity. Amid the chaos of their lives, they had each other, and that was a cornerstone to build upon. All right, let's do this, she said, her voice gaining strength. Let's show the world who we are. Michael grinned, his heart soaring at her resolve. I love you, Sarah. We'll figure this out together. I love you too, she replied, her voice steady. No matter what happens, we're in this together. As they sat side by side, hands intertwined, they began to sketch a blueprint for their future, one filled with hope, determination, and an unwavering commitment to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden light around them, symbolizing the dawn of a new chapter in their lives. Together, they were ready to face the world, no matter how daunting it seemed. 2 years had passed since Sarah and Michael first came together, and in that time, They had cultivated a life that was both rich in love and purpose. Their nonprofit organization, New Beginnings, aimed to provide resources and support to homeless families, reflecting their shared commitment to social change. On a sunny afternoon, they set up a community event at a local park, where families could enjoy food, games, and information about available services. Ethan, now a lively toddler with a mop of curly hair, played nearby, his laughter ringing out like music. Michael stood by the registration table, a clipboard in hand, chatting with volunteers. His face had softened over the years. The stress of his past life had given way to a warmth that radiated from his smile. He glanced at Sarah, who was interacting with a group of parents, her demeanor confident and inviting. She had blossomed into a woman who embraced her past, using her experiences to connect with others who faced similar struggles. "Hey, love," Michael called, waving her over. "Can you help me with these forms? I think I might have accidentally mixed up the donation receipts." "Sure thing," Sarah replied, her eyes shining with enthusiasm as she approached him. "You really need to get better at this, you know? You can't let me do all the work." She playfully nudged his shoulder, and he chuckled. I know, but I'm more of a big-picture guy," he teased back, leaning in closer. "And the big picture looks pretty good right now, doesn't it?" "It really does." She smiled, her gaze drifting to Ethan, who was currently engrossed in a game of tag with some other kids. "I can't believe how far we've come. Sometimes I look at him and think about how different life could have been." Michael nodded, his expression turning serious. "And we're just getting started. With what we're doing here, it can change lives." Just as they were reveling in their moment, the atmosphere shifted. A sleek black car pulled up, drawing the eyes of several attendees, including Michael and Sarah. The driver stepped out, adjusting his suit jacket as he scanned the area. Michael's heart sank when he recognized the man, his estranged father, Robert. He hadn't seen him since their last explosive argument about Sarah, and the sight of him now sent a shiver down his spine. "Michael," Robert called, striding toward them with purpose, his voice cutting through the laughter and chatter of the park. "We need to talk." "Not now, Dad," Michael replied, his voice low and tense. "We're busy." "I don't care," Robert insisted, his tone sharp. "This is important. I'm here to discuss your future." Sarah stood frozen, her eyes darting between the two men. She could sense the tension crackling in the air like static electricity. "Maybe we can talk later," she suggested gently, not wanting to escalate the situation, but knowing that it could quickly spiral out of control. "No, now." Robert's gaze locked onto Michael, unwavering. "I'm offering you a choice. Either you leave this situation behind you, or you can forget about any financial support from me." Michael's blood ran cold at his father's words. "You can't be serious," he said, disbelief coloring his voice. "You're threatening to cut me off because of Sarah?" "It's not just about her," Robert snapped, his frustration boiling over. "It's about your future, your reputation. You're a businessman, Michael, and you're throwing it all away for a woman who—" "Who what?" Michael interrupted, his anger flaring. "Who overcame her past. Who is doing more good in this world than you ever have. I'm proud of my life with Sarah and Ethan. We're making a difference." Robert scoffed, shaking his head as if Michael were a foolish child. "You're blinded by emotion. You think this charity work will last? What happens when the novelty wears off? You'll be back to square one, and I won't be there to fix your mistakes." "Maybe I don't want you to fix my mistakes," Michael retorted, now standing tall, his resolve hardening. "I'm building my own life, and I won't let you dictate who I love or how I live." "Michael," Sarah interjected, stepping closer to him, her heart racing. "Maybe we should just—" "No, Sarah," he said firmly, his gaze never leaving his father. "This is about us. You have as much right to be here as anyone else. You are not a mistake. You are my partner, and you're the mother of my son." Robert's expression shifted from anger to disbelief, as if he were grappling with an unfamiliar emotion. "You think this is a partnership? You're throwing away everything I worked for. You're making a mockery of our family name." "Family name?" Michael scoffed, his voice rising. "What family? The one that abandoned me when I chose to love someone outside our social circle? You think wealth defines us? I've found more love and support in my life with Sarah than I ever did in this family. And if you think your money can buy me, you're wrong." The park had grown quiet, the other attendees sensing the intensity of the confrontation. Sarah felt her heart pounding in her chest, but she stepped forward, placing a hand on Michael's arm. "We've worked hard for what we have," she said softly, her voice steady. "We're not looking for handouts or approval. We're creating our own path." Robert's eyes narrowed, and for a fleeting moment, he seemed at a loss for words. Then, with a heavy sigh, he leaned back slightly, as if reconsidering his stance. "Michael, I can't just stand by and watch you ruin your life. I came here to help, but if you choose this path, then I choose it," Michael declared, his voice unwavering. "I choose Sarah, I choose Ethan, and I choose the life we built together. You can't control me anymore." Silence enveloped them, and for a moment, it felt as if time had stopped. Robert's expression softened just a fraction, and in that moment, a flicker of understanding passed between father and son. "You really mean that, don't you?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "I do," Michael replied, his heart racing. "I'm not asking for your approval, but I won't let you dictate my happiness." Robert studied his son for a long moment, and then something shifted in his demeanor. "If you're so determined, then perhaps I can try to understand. This nonprofit of yours, it's making a difference, right?" "It is," Michael responded cautiously, unsure where this conversation was headed. "Then maybe I can help," Robert offered, his tone begrudging yet sincere. "I want to support your efforts, but it has to be clear that my son is not throwing away his future. If you truly believe in this, I'll consider backing your nonprofit." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. "You'd do that?" she asked, cautiously hopeful. "It's a start," Robert replied, his voice firm yet softer. "But you need to know that I will be watching. This isn't just a charity, it's a business, and I expect you to treat it as such." Michael exchanged glances with Sarah, who squeezed his hand. "That's fair," he said, "but know that this is our vision, and we'll run it our way." Robert nodded slowly, the tension in the air easing, albeit slightly. "I'll give you a chance then. But remember, I won't tolerate any failures." As Robert turned to leave, Michael felt a weight lift off his shoulders. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady, "for understanding." "Don't make me regret it," Robert shot back, but there was a hint of something softer in his tone as he walked away. Michael turned to Sarah, who was looking at him with wide eyes. "Did that really just happen?" she asked, disbelief mingling with relief. "I think it did," Michael replied, pulling her into a tight embrace. "And I can't believe I stood up to him." "Neither can I," Sarah chuckled, tears of joy brimming in her eyes. "You were incredible. Together, we're unstoppable," he said, grinning as he kissed her forehead. Ethan ran up to them, giggling, and they both knelt to embrace him. "What's going on?" Ethan asked, his innocent eyes darting between his parents. "Just some grown-up stuff, buddy," Michael said, ruffling Ethan's hair. "But everything's okay now." As they stood together, a family united in love and purpose, Michael felt a sense of peace wash over him. They had faced the odds and emerged stronger, ready to forge ahead on their own terms, no longer bound by the past, but embraced by the future they were creating together.